take myself back to very, very prehistoric, like early humans, I could see run, I could see water, I could see food as kind of your first three options of what the first word was that people came up with. But I'm fairly certain it wasn't just a label to just say, let's call this a tree. And they moved on with their lives and just started labeling everything. Because the reason I think that is the first word that babies say is usually a man asking for something. So it would follow that the first word that any human ever said was also a man.
But don't those mans refer to a label?
Well, do you think it was a label, the first word?
If I had to place a wager on it, I think it was a label. Because, right, so you bring it up a good point that a toddler's first word is a man. They're usually asking for, demanding, searching for something along those lines. And that's why I brought up earlier that those mans, command could be for something, a label. If we, right, you watch how toddlers that don't have verbal language yet, they're still in, and this is where I see that we have the biological primer for being communicative, because they don't have verbal language, but they still have body language.
They get their point across.
Dude, nothing enraptured me more in the toddler stage than how fluid and plastic language is. If you think that language isn't fluid and plastic, go hang out with a 2-year-old for 2 hours. By the end of the 2 hours, you guys will understand each other. Mm-hmm. Maybe not linguistically, but you guys can understand each other. And most of how pre-language individuals operate is by gesturing. They might have grunts and things like that to add emphasis to stuff, but it's primarily gesturing. Well, what are they gesturing at? Maybe, there might be motivations behind it. I need to get over there. I need to run from this predator or whatever, but there's still that fundamental label as the origin of, right? They are trying to draw the other's attention to something. Mm-hmm. And it is through that direction of attention, I think, that those first words started being applied as labels with which to ease that process.
It does make sense that way. Maybe the first word was look. Come on. Look.
And see, that's interesting, because that's an action, not necessarily a label. It is a label, but it's a label of doing something.
Yeah. Well, it's a man because you're requesting that this happen. Look. That would be I like that one now. That was not on my list of what I think the first words could have been, but now it definitely is, because what you said makes sense. That